Hello everyone. This is Tobi from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge.
So let's start by sitting upright. Gently tuck your chin, suspend the head from above. Let the body be relaxed, comfortable. Breathe in a way that feels nice, that feels fulfilling, refreshing. Just listening to your own breath, see what feels good. Give up trying to copy some breath that you think is correct or something like that. Instead, just breathe in a way that is good personally for you. Receiving this moment yourself with kindness, with compassion. Giving everything space to be just as it is. There's nothing to change, nothing to control or manipulate. Breathing in, feeling your body, saturating the body with consciousness. Breathing out, softening, releasing whatever tension there may be. And of course, we're talking about unnecessary tension, such as tension in your forehead or your jaws, shoulders, upper back, in the heart, in the belly. Just become a little bit more soft with each out breath. Take it one breath at a time. Just breathing in, feeling, breathing out, softening. Connecting the body and the mind. Settling, grounding. Just one nice breath. Think about it like this: one breath is one meditation session. As you breathe in, you feel, you connect. As you breathe out, you release, become soft. Well, let's make it a bit more simple even. As you breathe in, just know that you're breathing in. As you breathe out, just know that you're breathing out. Gently keeping the breath in mind, hovering around the breath, if you will, not straying too far from it. knowing when the in-breath begins, the first moment of it, and knowing when it comes to an end. Knowing when the out-breath starts, all the way down to its last moment. Every now and then you may find that you forget your breath and you're lost in thoughts or your feelings or something like that. And then at some point you will remember the breath. You'll remember the task. That is mindfulness, coupled with alertness. Remembering the breath, coming back to it. And keep remembering it, gently keeping it in mind. We do that for as long as your mind allows you to stay with your breath. Eventually, your mind will kick you out again, and you'll be distracted for a little while until you remember the breath again. And each time you remember the breath, you come back to it. That's when you're training your mindfulness. We do this in order to stabilize the knower, stabilize consciousness, so it doesn't easily get pulled into the objects that appear to it, such as thoughts or emotions, sounds, and so forth. And once the consciousness is nice and stable, well-centered, I'd like you to open up your mind. Just let everything be. Abandon all doing, all trying, even meditating. Let go of it. Simply be. Rest in your own presence. You'll find that feelings and thoughts, sound and sight, smell and taste arise and pass by themselves. Just like the wind or the waves in the ocean. Just like the cycle of day and night. Everything simply happens. And it doesn't matter whether you want that or not, it'll still happen. So we just observe how experiences come and go, one after the other. Instead of grasping those experiences, set them free. Let everything be just as it is. The prerequisite for this kind of practice is that you are firmly rooted within awareness. The priority here is knowing and not doing. It is seeing, not acting. Witnessing, not trying. And if you find that you really get pulled into the movies of your mind and you completely become unaware over and over again, then it would be better to train your mind to rest with the breathing again. However, if you manage to stay anchored in the knowing, then do that. Whatever you become aware of, you can see it is subject to arising, changing, and passing. Furthermore, it's not personal. Things don't arise to attack you. They don't arise to please you either. They simply follow their nature. Thoughts are not coming to harass you. Feelings are not coming to harass you. Similarly, feelings and thoughts don't go away because you made them. They go away because it is in their nature not to last. Just like wind. Or a wave. So why bother with all that stuff? Why trying to arrange something that is perfectly natural? Why not just rest? If you like, you can simply continue with this meditation, or you can slowly come back in your own time, open your eyes, gently stretch a little bit. All right. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. Now, today I've received a request to talk about particular topic from Enrico. So he's requesting to talk a little bit about the relationship between grasping and ignorance, so on and so forth. I think it's quite a lovely topic, actually. Nicely connecting to what we've heard from Pema Chodron, who was here last week. So you might have observed during this meditation that the mind has this tendency to get lost in things. When thoughts arise, it's not just simply that thoughts arise and pass to us. It's much more the case that we see that those thoughts arise, we don't notice they're arising, then we grasp them. We don't notice that we grasp them, and then we get lost in them. Just in the same way you would get lost in watching a movie, completely forgetting that you're actually sitting on your bed or on a sofa.
You don't even notice that you're eating popcorn. You don't notice it. It's like an automatic thing that happens while we're watching that movie. In the same way, the mind produces movies. You can even say that it has this kind of background music, the emotional undertone of your thoughts that might be based on hope or fear. Have a positive undertone, a negative undertone, a scary undertone. Maybe you're worried about something. And you don't notice that all this is happening, actually. It's much more like being busy doing something, not even knowing that you are doing it. The voice in your head isn't something that you're listening to, it's you that talks, right? That's the result of grasping and ignorance, is identification. The difference between being identified with something and not being identified is very simple, actually. If you're not identified, you can see that a thought arises and immediately passes. If you are identified, you don't see it arising, you don't see how it changes, and you don't see it passing. You become it. It's almost like taking birth as that thought formation. You become a thinker. And once you are a thinker and a feeler, then you become an actor. Thoughts are governed, ruled by intentions. Once we grasp intention, we become a doer. A human doing, not a human being. And once we're a doer, we are producing action. The word for action is karma. That's all that it means, really. To act. Producing karma, producing action. As soon as we produce action, then there are results to our actions. And it is us that receives the results of our actions. So what you reap, you sow. If you wouldn't grasp, then it would also mean in that moment of non-grasping, there is no ignorance. You're actually clearly seeing the nature of what you would normally automatically just grasp. So if there is no ignorance, there is no grasping. We cannot grasp something if we know it for what it is. Then the grasping it would be a silly thing to do. Why all the stress? Why hold on to something that is just stressful in nature? Why get yanked around by conditions? What? We are yanked around by conditions all the time because we do not recognize. There is no knowing. Knowing is the opposite of ignorance. And here we're not talking about a type of knowing that's very common in the modern world, which is intellectual knowing. The type of knowing that you get from a Google search. You want to know how is that monkey called? You send an image to Google and you ask it, how's that monkey called? And Google gives you an answer. And then you think, now I know what that monkey is called. That's intellectual knowing. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about directly knowing, which is much more like seeing, observing, witnessing what actually goes on in this moment. When I say actually, I mean beyond your conditioned interpretation of what goes on. Usually we immediately interpret what goes on. Like if a feeling arises within you, you immediately perceive it as negative or positive, as F-E-A-R, for example, fear. You immediately put a word on it. As you put a word on it, you already think exactly, you know what that is. And it's worthy of getting rid of. That you're already fully in grasping. You're not actually looking at it, but you are already, you already think you know what it is intellectually. That's a huge obstacle. That's the opposite of the practice. Everything we do on the path, whether it be morality, training ourselves, developing our character and so on, or training in stabilizing meditation, stabilizing the knower, stabilizing the mind, or actually directly training in clear seeing, it's all for that. The moment you look at yourself without conception, as if you were to observe yourself and whatever goes on in you for the very first time, you've never seen anything like that. It's like a magical thing. Well, there is feeling. How weird is that? There's thinking. How strange. There's words after words just popping up and disappearing. Popping up and disappearing. So you don't even need to do anything for that to happen. It's just what the mind does. The moment you can see that clearly for what it actually is, you're not fooled anymore. You're not deluded anymore. There's an absence of delusion in that moment. You're just observing what is. Before you react, before you get identified, before you grasp, you just look. That's the opposite of ignorance. So we're training in the opposite of ignorance. A lot of Buddhists, for example, they think it's a really hard thing to do. It isn't hard at all, actually. It isn't anything that is so difficult and requires many, many, many years of work and so on. That is true in the case of making that insight stable so that it lasts over long periods of time. So you're not just aware for a little moment, oh, that's a thought, and then you get immediately lost in your reaction to that thought again. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking so much. Without actually realizing you've already grasped again. Okay, let's say thought A arises, and you are aware of it. You're like, wow, there's a thought, and it comes and it goes. And then immediately after that, there comes a comment, I'm having quite a lot of thoughts recently. You don't notice that one anymore. You notice the first one, and you got deluded by the second one again. Within a split second, you're grasping the second thought. And as you grasp it, you become the thinker again. Ooh, I am having a lot of thoughts recently. So it becomes personal. The result of grasping and ignorance is that things that are not personal at all become personal. I like to give this example of the man on the beach. So imagine you're living at the beach, and every day, 6 a.m. sharp until 3 p.m., there's this guy, comes with a paddle, and he goes to the shoreline, just where the waves break, and he takes his paddle and he swings at the waves. He hits the waves over and over and over again, from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. sharp every day. And he does that for years. Without fail, he shows up every day. And then one day you decide to go over to this guy and ask him, what on earth are you doing? I see you every day here, showing up, paddling the waves. And the guy says, well, I'm doing everyone here a service. We all know waves are dangerous. And they are kind of unruly. They're always moving. They make me nervous. So what I'm doing is, I'm keeping the ocean flat. And you're like, dude, can you keep the ocean flat with your little paddle? Do you really think that? And he says, yes, I even have proof. And then he shows you a bunch of photographs when the sea was really calm. And he says, look, it's what I did. It's due to my paddling. We've had these beautiful calm days. I just need to work harder. I need to become more efficient at paddling, and I will eventually make sure that the sea will remain calm. And then you're all going to thank me. Obviously this guy has lost it, right? And he's got a brother, The brother is standing in the garden every day, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., with a gun, and he's shooting up in the sky. And he does a similar work. He's getting rid of all the clouds for us. So we should be thankful that he actually managed to make the sky clear every now and then, thanks to his bullets. He's a good shooter. All right? You're smiling. You think, this guy's insane. He's lost it. But really, exactly that's what we're doing. Exactly that. It's just as insane to try to organize and flatten your mind, which is just doing what the mind naturally does. It produces waves, frequency, energy. It moves. Right? That should be no surprise that the mind moves. It should not be an issue. Like that the wind moves is not an issue. The birds move in the sky is not an issue. Unless you make it one. Unless you take it personal and you grasp it. And you take out your paddle and you're meditating yourself flat. This is not meditation practice. This is grasping. Having said all that, now we do need some of that grasping because we can't just start from a point of non-grasping. Obviously, we do need to grasp. We have to grasp in order to train to transcend grasping. And we do that by, for example, doing breathing meditation. You anchor your mind with the breathing. You train yourself to grasp one object and lock your awareness as an observer of that object. It's not about the breath. It's not about what you visualize, whatever you do, or the mantra to keep yourself quiet. It's not about the thing, the object. It's about stabilizing the knower, stabilizing consciousness with the help of an object. That we can call meditation with an object. That is necessary, especially if you're just starting out. Then we have meditation without object. Meditation without object is the complete release of all objects of consciousness. You're so anchored within seeing, within knowing, that you're not going out there and grasping objects anymore. You're just observing whatever comes and whatever goes. Feelings, thoughts, sound. And all those things are okay. It's all right. It's life. It's not your enemy. It's not your friend. It's not personal. It's just like wind, like water, like fire, like earth, like space. Just stuff happening. But we cannot see that because our minds are not stable. So we're getting pulled into stuff immediately. You can think of it like this, okay? We are surrounded by this endless hurricane. And the walls, you're standing in the center of that hurricane, and the walls have an incredible suction. They pull you in all the time, and then you spin around forever and ever. What you want to do first, therefore, is put a stake into the middle and then tie yourself to it. Like, let's say in the middle there is a post. That's your breath. You anchor yourself to it. You tie yourself up to it, so you're not pulled into the walls of the hurricane. While you're standing there, well anchored to that post, you gradually get to know yourself better. And you get to know yourself as actually being that eye of the storm. You're not the guy that's tied to the post. You are the space in the center. But you cannot get to know yourself like that if you're never out of the walls even. So you have to know what you are. You can only find that out if you strip. You strip everything away that you're usually identified with. Sound, sight, smell, taste, vision. Oh, I mentioned that already. Thought, and so on. Feeling. The six senses. We're usually fully identified with those six senses at all times. So that's why we feel like I am the body, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm whatever. That is because we are identified with the senses all the time. We don't know what it's like to stand naked. Just the mind without content. That's why we need to practice meditation. So you get to know yourself as you actually are. Once you know that more and more, or once you can reduce the objects that you're identified with usually, then it's much more easy to stay within that non-identification, non-grasping. So you allow things to arise and to pass while clearly knowing them for what they actually are. And so gradually you lose your fear of things. You lose your fear of life. Like the guy with his paddle, he would have to sit by the shoreline and he would have to learn to observe the ocean. And he would have to, through that observation, he would see that the ocean becomes calm and stormy, not because of him, but because it's the nature of the ocean to be calm one day and to be stormy on the other day. And he would only learn that by, let's say you tie him up to a post and you say, watch. You force him to watch. See, it's not because of your paddle. It's because it's nature. And at first he wouldn't believe you. And gradually, the longer he sits, not reacting, not being able to react, not grasping his paddle, not grasping the waves, not making anything personal, he would gradually learn that, it wasn't me at all. And then he would wake up through that. But he would have to clearly look. It is not enough to just turn his back to the ocean and do something else. Meditation means that you stop reacting and you watch. And you train yourself to watch what is as it really is. Thinking. What is thinking actually? How can you find that out? You have to watch directly. What is it like to have a thought process going on? Based on what do thoughts arise? You can just sit there and watch your mind. Let it think. And learn from that. Let it play its thing. And you will see that, wow. Thoughts come and go because it's their nature to come and go. And a funny thing happens, if you relax with that, thoughts stop coming. You'll get less and less. Then you will learn through that thoughts only come because you were grasping, you were interested in them. You were reaching out to them. That's why they came. The less interested you are, the less you experience it. And with the ending of the experience of thought or feeling and so on, that's nirvana. You're experiencing the extinguishing of what you have grasped so far because you've lost all interest in it. Because you understood clearly that as soon as you grasp it, it's like grasping a hot coal. It'll burn you. Leaving it, much better. It's much more peaceful. There's no stress in that. And to that point, we train ourselves up slowly, step by step. First of all, train yourself to grasp things that are useful for you and let go of things that are not. Basic level. Then grasp things that allow your mind to become silent, quiet, still. So you get to know yourself on an even deeper level. And then stop grasping anything at all. Just look directly. The ending of ignorance, gradual, slow. It's not a sudden thing. It's very gradual. So the training is small moments of wakefulness, many times. Small little moments many times, over and over. Wake up, see. There's no problem there. Relax. As Luang Po Cham Nien, one of my teachers, he said, see, know, let go. That's his formula. You clearly see, you know it, you let go. The end of problem. But if we don't see, and if we don't know, we don't let go, we grasp. And then we become. And then the wheel of karma rolls endlessly. Now, if you were to completely let go from now on, does that mean you don't experience anything? No, because your entire past is still rolling. So it will still produce results. You still have a body. You still have people surrounding you. They will still like you and dislike you. You will still experience problems and so on. Why? Because karma just doesn't suddenly stop. It is still a remainder. It's like you're having, these little children in some villages, they have these sticks and the wheel, and they hit the wheel and then the wheel rolls. That's like karma. Here they are doing with their stick, so they keep the wheel rolling. Now what happens if they suddenly stop? Does the wheel suddenly stop? No, it just keeps going, but it will eventually stop because there is nothing that keeps it going anymore. Think of it like that. So the kid with a stick will rest. The wheel will still go on. So you will experience life just without suffering. You'll experience the results of all your past actions. There's just no more drama around it at all. You're totally at ease with nature. You've no more beef with the ocean or the wind or whatever. You're just relaxed. Your priority then becomes the seeing. That's then when you are truly, truly on the path. That's the spiritual path. Your priority is just seeing clearly what's going on, not more. That's all we do. But before you can do that consistently, you need to familiarize yourself with the basic practices. They're very necessary. Don't think, I just see. You won't be able to. You will be caught up all the time. So therefore, you need the basic practices. You need train your character. You need to develop your meditation. And as you do that, it becomes much more easy to see. All right? That's all that comes to mind for today. We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.